his career he worked with Schlarman. Can you feel some of that impact that maybe he picked up from him as a young coach too?
Yeah, because I think one of the things about Schlarman was how he cared about every guy, not just being a good football player, being a good man. And I think that's something that Yenser tries to emphasize too, is like we're not just here to learn how to play football, we're also here to learn how to be good husbands, good fathers, and good men in society.
As linemen, you all take it more personally when you hear people criticizing him from outside a little bit?
Yeah, it's easy to criticize from outside, especially after, last season was not the best as an offensive line. And, it's some of that's warranted to all of us, not just him, but, it kind of puts a chip on your shoulder because the media obviously doesn't understand everything that goes on in that room. They're not in there day in and day out like we are with him and have those relationships. So I think that you're going to see a different offensive line on the field this year, and we're excited to turn a new leaf and to really change the perception to being the big blue wall we've always have been.
When y'all watch the film from last season, what did y'all kind of identify that went wrong that you have focused on correcting this offseason?
Yeah, I think it's just going to be our consistency and being on the same page. A lot of the time, a lot of our mistakes were self-inflicted last year, I think. We have plenty of talent in the room and a lot of good guys who can play offensive line, and I think we have to mitigate the self-inflicted wounds. You can't have MAs, you can't have blown coverages, blown assignments, and just being a consistent, dominant group is what we're going to need to do.
Eli, with Justin Rogers now going to Auburn, what kind of scouting report can you give on him as a player after blocking him for the past year?
Yeah. Justin's a good player. Played against him every day in practice, so Auburn's getting a good one.
With him, with the nose tackle position, sometimes the stats don't always show up. What are kind of the qualities that make him a tough guy to block?
Right, he's just gap sound, does his responsibility really well, and he'll fit it what a defensive coordinator asks him to do.
Ray Davis come over from Vandy. He's a guy. He had a big. I know you were on the other side of the ball, but he had a big game against Kentucky last year. What have you seen from him? What do you think he'll add to the offense?
Yeah, I think Ray brings a great veteran presence to the running back room. He's new to Kentucky, but he's obviously played a lot of college football, has a lot of snaps and carries under his belt. So I think he's just going to bring a veteran leadership presence that our room will need when we have such a stacked room. There's a lot of guys in there, but we're losing guys like C-Rod, who's been that number one back for us for years. So I think having that veteran presence in a room that's really going to be just by committee. We'll have a lot of talented running backs, and having a veteran leader in that room is really just going to elevate the whole room together.
And then Devin, what do you see from him? What are you looking for as a new quarterback?
Yeah, I really like Devin. He's a great dude, and I think just his composure and during practice and in games that we've seen, and just his composure in the pocket and the huddle is something that's really impressive.
How much have you kind of established that relationship with him, being the center, and how important that connection is?
Yeah, I just think the quarterback and his offensive line have to be in tune, especially when it comes to pass protections. He's got to be able to trust us that he can step up and throw the ball. And so I think just the five of us building that relationship with him and trusting one another that he'll get the ball out when he needs to and that we'll have his back so he can.
With Kenneth kind of moving back inside and some of the tackle options you guys brought in, is that what's kind of giving you guys the confidence and optimism that the big blue wall will return this fall?
Yeah, definitely. I think we definitely needed some pieces at the tackle, and I think we brought in a heck of a transfer from NIU. Marcus Cox is going to be a really, really good football player for us. He's played a lot of snaps, and he's moving up, and I think he's going to make a big impact. So just solidifying that left tackle spot, being able to move Kenneth, a veteran, back into his natural spot at guard, and I think that just really shores up our offensive line. We're going to be able to have a good group out there.
It's like having Wayne back as your OC. That's kind of an interesting situation. Your OC goes back to the NFL, comes back to Kentucky. What's that been like?
It's been great having Coach Coen back, and it's nice having a new face that's also familiar. I mean, we were able to be coached by him in 2021, so all the guys that were here with him are just happy to have a familiar face, and the install's a lot easier when you've done it once already. So we're installing a lot of similar stuff we've done and also adding a lot of new stuff that he's learned in the NFL and he learned from his first year as a coordinator in college. So just being able to grow on what we did in 2021 and then to continue to build is something we're really excited about with him.
Eli, just wrapping a few questions you've already addressed into one. Last year you changed offensive coordinators. You lost an offensive line coach that was year 2 the year before. You lost your right tackle to the NFL and some other key pieces. I mean, that's a lot to go through at once. How difficult was all that at once, and maybe what are some things that you don't think about that are challenges in those scenarios?
Yeah, I mean, we had to replace 3 starters, which is hard, and they were good starters. Dare Rosenthal entered the draft and was able to go to minicamp, and Fortner was a stalwart for the Jaguars all year, played every single snap for that team, and Darian Kennard was a draft pick to the Kansas City Chiefs, who was an all-conference, all-American. He just won about every award you could as an offensive lineman at Kentucky. So those are guys that aren't easy to replace. Those aren't just your everyday run-of-the-mill starters. Those are guys who were really bought in and part of those founding pieces of the big blue wall, as it were. And losing those guys was tough because they were a lot of production, a lot of leadership that they brought to the table. So it is a tall task to replace them, but I'm excited to see the guys who are going to build on last year's performance and then be able to fill in new faces this year.
Eli, you've played in this conference for years now. Just what do you feel like stands out about the SEC as a conference, particularly when it comes to offensive line play and just the battle of the trenches?
Yeah, I think top to bottom, this is the best talent you'll see week in and week out from any conference in college football, and let alone the offensive and defensive lines. I mean, you could go down the list of every SEC team, and every one of them's probably got an NFL draftable defensive tackle, if not multiple, especially guys on the edge, the pass rushers, just the Will Andersons and the Jalen Carters. I mean, that's just two guys that are first-round picks from the SEC that played defensive line last year. I mean, Darnell Wright was a first-round pick at tackle from the SEC. So, I mean, just the talent week in and week out that you see on both sides of the ball, I think, is unparalleled.
Eli, Will Levis was obviously your quarterback last year, taking the snaps from you. He's going to be playing here in Nashville in the fall. You may have already answered it, but what's it been like for you to watch him go to the next level?
Yeah, I'm really excited for Will. You know, he was a great teammate for 2 years and a really good buddy of mine. And so just to see him move on to the next level and a new challenge for him, it's really exciting. And I think the Titans is a great place for him. That's got a great culture of winning and a very similar system to kind of what we ran in the past with Will at Kentucky. So I think there'll be a smooth adjustment for him, and I'm really excited to see him get to work.
How much was he playing through last year? It looked like he was never 100%. He didn't seem like a guy that made excuses. He just played through it. But how rough do you think that was for him?
I think it was tough. I mean, just knowing how the type of player he is, he was just a really gritty, tough leader, and I think there was always a lot more that went on that even the players who were around him even knew about. And just the pressure that was on him last year after 2021 and all the accolades and just the media hype around him, and then playing through those injuries, he really battled all year long.
You said he was a great teammate. Can you go into more detail as to why that? What the things that he did that made him a great teammate?
Yeah, I just think he really cared about the guys, and like especially for us offensive linemen, his NIL network was a little different, just being a quarterback. So he always, the 2 years he was here, took the offensive line out to eat at Malone's in Lexington every Sunday after the game, and he just always made sure to take care of everybody on the team, and just really was just a good teammate and a friend.
Was there a lot of respect among the team for that and playing through some things and also just being the guy that you're talking about here?
Yeah, I just think that you earn the respect of a locker room just with toughness and grit, and I think that's something he exemplified really well. And so he went over the locker room really quick when he got here in 2021 and was just a leader and a tough player all the way through.
What were your thoughts on draft night, watching that?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough to watch. You know, I mean, we were all rooting for him though, but we're just really excited for where he's at. I think he's in a great place in Tennessee, and I think he's going to have a really good chance to flourish and be a great NFL quarterback. We're excited for him.